This week we are looking at part 1 of the IELTS speaking exam. Before we get started, I would like to once again invite any practicing IELTS examiner to get in contact with me if they are looking for some extra paid work. You will not be asked to operate outside of your confidentiality arrangement with the IELTS. You can contact me at my email, which is ryan@ieltsspeakingblog.com. This week we are looking at part 1. These are the questions that a candidate recently reported being asked. Let's read through them together. Do you live in a house or an apartment? What is your favorite room? Do you usually use a watch? What do you think about people who wear expensive watches? Let's talk about talents. Do you have a talent? Were you especially good at something when you were a child? Does your talent help you at work? So you can see that the topic bounces around a little bit. The examiner asks about the candidate's home, which is very common, and then they jump right away to the subject of jewellery, and then they jump again to the subject of talent. Okay, so here is the full scripted response. This is a Band 9 response that was scripted by an active IELTS examiner. Let's go ahead and listen to the model from start to finish, and then we will examine it further on the other side.
Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I live in a house in the eastern part of Shiraz.
What is your favourite room?
I would have to say my bedroom. It's cozy and decorated in relaxing pastel colors. It also has a double-paned window and blackout curtains, so I almost always sleep well.
Do you usually use a watch?
I don't, actually. I own a nice watch that my father gave me, but it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. I think the last time I wore it was to a wedding last year.
What do you think about people who wear expensive watches?
I think people should have the freedom to wear whatever jewellery they want. I don't feel that people who wear expensive watches are necessarily doing it to show off or be pretentious. If they own a nice watch and enjoy wearing it, then more power to them.
Let's talk about talents. Do you have a talent?
I need a moment to think of one. I suppose I could say I'm a talented chess player. A few years ago, I competed in my city for a chance to join our national team. I didn't qualify, but just playing in this tournament put me among the top 10 chess players in Shiraz.
Were you especially good at something when you were a child?
Well, I was also good at chess as a child, but aside from this, I had an especially good memory. At the age of 8, I could recite pi to 100 digits. A few years later, I could examine a Rubik's Cube and then solve it from memory while blindfolded. My strong memory was an abnormal talent, but one that came in handy during my schooling days.
Does your talent help you at work?
My memory is still good, but it isn't nearly as strong as it used to be. I am an engineer, and I work with numbers a lot. And I suppose my memory does help me do calculations in my head very quickly. But my job also demands creativity and lateral thinking, so unfortunately my talent doesn't help much with this. Okay, so you can see that the candidate does expand the answers a little bit, but this is part 1. So the questions are quite specific. The candidate is good about being specific and answering only what the examiner asks. The candidate does use a lot of really good linking language. And at one point, you can see the candidate uses a quick phrase just to give themselves a little bit more time to think of the talent. So instead of leaving a long and unnatural and uncomfortable pause, they insert, I need a moment to think of one, which is a natural way of just buying yourself a little bit more time as you try and find something that fits what the examiner is asking. So this week we will do another shadowing exercise, and we are going to practice shadowing the response to, do you usually use a watch? Okay, so let's read the response one more time just to refresh your memory. I don't, actually. I own a nice watch that my father gave me, but it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. I think the last time I wore it was to a wedding last year. Okay, so if this is your first time doing a shadowing exercise, please remember that you should be repeating after the model. So you will hear the model, and then you will be given a pause within which to repeat what you have heard. And the idea is to try to mimic what you have heard as closely as you possibly can. As always, this is part of the learn, try, apply cycle to improving your language, and this is an ongoing improvement cycle. So in addition to doing these shadowing exercises, you should also be taking lots of notes and noting down any new language that you come across and making an active effort to ensure that you know how to use this language properly in your speaking. And then the third stage is, of course, applying the language, which means making an active effort to include what you have learned in your day-to-day speaking. So whether you're speaking to your friend and you're practicing for your IELTS, or if you're in a study group, or if you're practicing with a teacher, make an active effort to expand your language. It's a very important part of the cycle. Okay, here is this week's shadowing exercise. Enjoy.
Do you usually use a watch?
I don't actually. I don't actually. I own a nice watch that my father gave me, but it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. I own a nice watch that my father gave me. Own a nice watch. Nice watch. Nice watch that my father gave me. Gave me. Gave me. That my father gave me. I own a nice watch that my father gave me. I own a nice watch that my father gave me. But it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. More of a family heirloom. Family heirloom. Family heirloom. More of a family heirloom. Something I regularly wear. Regularly wear. Regularly wear. Something I regularly wear. But it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. But it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. I own a nice watch that my father gave me, but it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. I own a nice watch that my father gave me, but it's more of a family heirloom than something I regularly wear. I think the last time I wore it was to a wedding last year. The last time I wore it. Last time. Last time I wore it. I wore it. Was to a wedding last year. Wedding. Wedding. Last year. Last year. Was to a wedding last year. Was to a wedding last year. I think the last time I wore it was to a wedding last year. I think the last time I wore it was to a wedding last year. I hope you found that exercise helpful. Remember to leave a like before you go and head over to IELTSspeakingblog.com, where you can find a full library of shadowing exercises. And all of these exercises were written in response to recent questions seen on real exams. And as always, the responses are written by active IELTS examiners, so I can guarantee that these are Band 9 material. Come on over, sign up for the program, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for tuning in this week, and we will be together next week for another IELTS speaking shadowing exercise.